Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome to Culture Rise. This is a space where we get to share and talk and learn culture, whether it's ethnic, whether it's social, whether it's a native. It's a place for us to learn, and I'm so excited. But, of course, like every episode that we do, we are a cultured episode. So, of course, we start with protocol. So, ke le mai lo kau e ke mahala malama ua mahali e a mahali e pākai nuai ke inu maila nā halo na we ke kai no na we tahala no puna tawahi ne no tahalua no I kilawe alohai alohai alohai.
Oh, mahalo.
Oh, mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. First of all, okay, I gotta say, mahalo for being here. I literally called you 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago. You, like, as always, as long as we know each other, you always come through. I can always count on you. Man. As I always say, you know who your friends are. When one, they help you move, they pick you up from the airport, or they show up when you need them.
I was like, what is he calling me for right now?
I know. So speaking of friends, we have not actually seen each other for a long time. Makanani Sala, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You've been away for a while.
Yes.
Well, before we get into that, I want to ask, this is the first conversation I have. What does culture mean to you?
Oh my gosh. Without giving you a dissertation?
I know, that's so you.
I'm trying not to give you an academic answer, but really, the things we do every day, our practices, the food we eat, the traditions we have, all of it is encompassed in culture.
I like that. Yeah. What high school you went to?
I went to the Blue and White High School up on the hill.
What are we up to right now? Like 10 people, 11 coming in? Yeah.
Well, you're repping Lahaina Luna, right?
You're welcome, Kamehameha. Mm-hmm. I always say it.
Really, though?
As Dr. Umi Perkins, my classmate from Lahaina Luna, teaching at Kamehameha, he always says, when we talk about Kamehameha school, he says, don't be so sacrilegious. Right. So culture, you went to Kamehameha. Are you a lifer?
Mm-mm.
No?
I went to Kamehameha from 7th grade.
Oh, okay. Not too bad. Not too bad. Grew up where?
I grew up in Hālawa.
Valley or up in the heights?
Up in the heights. I mean, the valley heights, what's the difference?
The Ahupua
of Hālawa.
Growing up, what ethnicities are you?
Hawaiian, Chinese, Japanese, Hungarian, German. Yeah.
Wow. In the household, what was the prominent or dominant culture?
Hawaiian, for sure.
Now, with that said, growing up, was as you grew up, was culture in your face in a sense where your parents and your grandparents said, this is who we are, mm-hmm. This is what we do, or was it more of did you have to use your kilo skills? Do you just observe what they did?
Yeah, no, not at all. My parents they both went to Aiea High School. Mm-hmm. They weren't very cultural because their mm-hmm. parents weren't super cultural. Mm-hmm. So the extent of at least Hawaiian knowledge mm-hmm. came from Tutu, right? And it was really started with her calling us Po'pa Kiki. And I never knew what that was until I went to Hawaiian language and I was like, she's calling us hard head this whole time.
You thought that was your name? Cute.
Yeah.
Tutu gave me a nickname. And so you were actually lucky. I always say people that got to learn from their grandparents are very lucky. With that said, what's one of the first things you remember about anything cultural that either grandma taught you or you just observed?
I would probably say for my grandmother was about food and was about stories. So when we were small, I remember she used to tell us. She grew up in a tiny place in Maui called Nāhiku, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Yeah, she's from...
Really?
Yeah, she's from Nāhiku. So her family is the Lono family.
Okay.
On Maui. But she always used to tell us this story that her great-grandmother was a mo'o. So they would follow her to the waterfall and they would see her. So I would get so scared. I would be like, what is she even talking about? But that was probably our first introduction. You know, she would tell stories.
Right. Tutu just went right to that little story, right?
Maybe that's the only one I remember. I don't know.
I did not know that. So you mo'oku auha all the way back to Maui and Nāhiku. Yep. If you're joining us, this is Culturized. If you're on YouTube, don't forget, hit the notification bell, subscribe if you got any questions about culture. We're sitting down with Makanani Sala, and we're going to find out what she's been doing today. She's taken her culture of growing up, Kamehameha school grad. So if you got any questions for her, this is the place to do it. I want to talk about when we come back, your kuleana today, but before that, what brought you to that point, right here on Culturized. Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser digital full access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHITHING. Bank of Hawaii. Welcome to tomorrow. Member FDIC. Hey, so thanks a lot for joining us, Culturized, right here on YouTube. Hit the notification button, subscribe. Also, our website, culturized.com. I got to thank Sundot, Hawaiian Fish Flags, for supplying me, for hiding my lauoho, because, man, it's rough right now. Sitting with Makanani Sala, we're talking culture. Now, after Kamehameha, okay, so growing up in the household, learning from Tutu, right? You went to Kamehameha at 7 years old.
No, 7th grade.
I mean, 7th grade. You're like, no, get it right. No. 7th grade. What was the transition like? What was the first thing you pili'd to? Na mea Hawaii. Was it hula? Was it music? Was it?
Yeah, I was always a hula dancer since I was, 3 years old. So when we went to Kamehameha, it was natural to join all of the hula clubs and to, art, performing art particularly is front and center for Kamehameha, as I'm sure other guests have told you.
What were you in?
What was I in? I was in Hawaiian Ensemble, ho'ike, all of that stuff. I played soccer, basketball, and volleyball club.
Was what you learned growing up from Tutu, when you went to Kamehameha school, was so we talk about different cultures, right? Of course, it's Hawaiian culture, but some people go to Kamehameha school and go, wow, this is kind of different than what I've learned growing up. Was it like that for you?
For sure.
Wow.
For sure.
No way.
Yeah, because I think culture is different wherever you go, right? So Kamehameha has its own culture of Hawaiian culture, or subculture of Hawaiian culture, right?
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
I think that's one of the reasons you can tell already when somebody went to Kamehameha, because they all have something. I don't know what it is about them. I mean, I'm sure you could say it, but...
It's an air.
Yeah, it's an air.
This ano that they have.
Yeah, I mean, but you're right, and I think part of that comes from, being really privileged to, when I growing up, your parents, your grandparents all wanted you to go to Kamehameha schools, right? Yeah. Everybody's testing 7th, 8th, 9th, every single year. So to get there, you almost have a responsibility to your family to do something good, at least in my generation. Right.
You pili to hula.
Yeah.
Is there anything else now that you're in a Hawaiian school? Was there anything else that led you to not only the practice of hula but the art of hula? What else did you pili to? Any other things?
I think Hawaiian language. Okay. I think when I was in school, Hawaiian language is hard. Learning a language is hard, right? So hula was easy for me. I always did hula, but learning language, I took it for granted that how much of the culture is carried just in language, right? So you don't know the right words for all these different winds. You don't really know what you're dancing about. So I mean, just learning language was so huge.
Where'd you go after Kamehameha?
After Kamehameha, I went to UH.
Nice. Yep. What'd you study at yours?
I started with special ed. Okay. I was working with special education kids, out in Waipahu, and then, oh my gosh, it's rough.
Did you ever use cultural practices? So now you getting into special ed. Were there little things that you would incorporate into now your professional life?
Well, I think they always tapped me to do the sort of token Hawaiian stuff, right? So I would start, teaching to the kindergarten class or whatever class. They wanted May Day. That's when they come to us. And I think at that time, at that time, I was just too young to sort of intentionally bring culture into what I was doing. That comes way later.
Which is this conversation I like to ask, and some people think it's weird to ask or have. When did you realize you were Kanaka? Because, right, we grow up, yeah, we have an understanding, but like you just said, it's like, okay, they're going to call you for May Day, they're going to call you for this. But then there's a time that you realize, whoa, the stuff that I was taught I'm doing, that's my kuleana, I have to do this. That's what makes me Kanaka.
I feel like you don't realize you are until you have to fight for something, right?
That's
until
a good
someone
one.
brings up something and you're like, wait, we are different, right?
That's
so
a
we're
good
all
one.
local culture, but there's something that makes Native Hawaiians have an extra layer of, I don't know whether it's, being blockaded from things or being prevented from doing things. So yeah, I think it's when you're first told you cannot do something.
Wow, that's when you have to fight for something. That's a good one. So now that you of course, you like you said, we do the token things. We got to do the May Days and stuff like that. Was there a time? So how long were you in education or special ed?
I was in special ed. Gosh, I can't even remember, 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
And you started to realize, okay, this is just not about May Day. It's not about this. I got to do more. Did you start doing that?
No, actually, I was done with school. I didn't want to be in school anymore. So then I took a break from UH, and then I went to work for Aloha Airlines, and then it was 9/11, and then we all got fired. Yeah.
We are talking culture right here on Culturized. Hit the notification bell. Thanks a lot for joining us on YouTube. This is Culturized. This show is sponsored by Hawaiian Telcom, Hawaii's technology leader. For all your money needs, Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union is here for you. Visit hificu.com. That's hi-fi, letter C, letter U.com. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us right here on Culturized. Don't forget. It's called Pigeon Tourette's sometimes. En Ofoguera. Don't forget to hit the notification. It is. Do you don't have Pigeon Tourette's sometimes? It comes out
when I'm upset, yes.
Right? I get excited. It's like, don't forget to hit the notification button, subscribe. We're sitting down with Makanani Sala, and we're talking about, Kamehameha school, Hālawa, and cultural things. You studied, and you went into special ed. You took a break. Of course, 9/11 happened, and then you continued school, though, right?
I went back to school after 9/11.
Wow. What? Same thing?
No. By then, I had realized I'm never going to graduate in education, and so my parents. And I think even my grandparents, everyone was like, don't go into Hawaiian Studies. Don't do it. And, what are you going to do with the degree?
Right.
And so I was like, well, I'm closest to graduating, and this is what I'm interested in. So then I went to Kamakakuakalani. And then, I had Haunani K. Trask before she retired. Lili Kala, Kame'ele Hiva, John Osorio when he was still in the classroom, Kanalu Young. So all of the stalwarts.
You were at that era when they, because I remember studying UH, and they were just at their associate lectures, and you caught them when they were at the height of their movement.
I think it was more towards the once they were starting to sunset a little bit in terms of just their age and their.
They were like legends.
They were legends. they were legends
right?
already. I mean, they could show up and not have any notes and just be brilliant.
I always say they're walking encyclopedias.
Oh,
so you finished.
Yeah.
And it was specifically Hawaiian Studies.
Hawaiian Studies BA.
Now, I want to fast forward to today. So you went away to the continent for a while.
I went away. I applied to a PhD program at University of California, Irvine.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got a fellowship. So then I couldn't say no, right? I was like, oh my God, they're going to pay for it. Oh gosh. So then I got in the history program, and I applied there to work with a particular professor, Dr. Adria Imada, and she's a Punahou grad. But she's written some really groundbreaking research on both, hula in America and Kalaupapa.
So currently, you're in the PhD. What is your focus? Is it going to be just history, or you're going to stay on Hawaiian history, or like when I talked to Dr. Umi Perkins, it's like I want to change the history book.
Yeah, I think that's the goal for a lot of Native peoples. And the thing that I learned at UC Irvine, being in a class with a Russian specialist and a Southeast Asian specialist, is that now I'm looking at the world, or the Hawaiian world, from 20,000 feet above, and looking at Hawaiian history very much in comparison to things that are happening worldwide and in the U.S. And for me, that changed a lot of the way that I think. Yeah.
I like that, because Kawakahiko, even our monarch and our ali'i, they were like you. They were, or you were like them. They were worldly thinkers. So historically, I mean, we is it correct to say we had relationships with other countries?
Oh, for sure. they were super worldly. And if you look at the Hawaiian language newspapers, they were bringing in stories from all over the place. They were talking about anatomy of an elephant or, different exotic animals you would never see here. They're bringing in pictures or sketches of them and describing what the animal looks like. And I think we think of Hawaii as very isolated, but we were not. Like, we were in it because Hawaiians could read so early. So they knew all of this stuff.
And they were traveling at the time.
Absolutely.
When are you soon? Your PhD?
I'm finishing 2023.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, now we fast forward today. Your title, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes.
You came back home.
Yep.
Now, before we get into the title, coming back home, was that kuleana? Was that you just felt like I just need to do this, or?
Actually, it was a COVID thing. So I went
even
up.
that.
Yeah, I went up to California with 2 boys, myself, and then I had the 3rd baby up in California. And my husband stayed home, right? So I was up there with the kids working on the PhD. And then COVID happened. So I was supposed to take my comprehensive exams, but everything got shut down. So I ended up coming home at spring break and comping from, the computer that summer.
And you are now,
Yes.
you come home, you're the Executive Director of Culture and Arts for the City and County of Honolulu.
You almost had it.
No.
It's a long title. It's just the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts.
Or the Mayor's or Rick's office.
Yes, the Mayor's Office.
I can say it.
Okay,
Rick,
good luck
right?
with that.
That's perfect for you, right?
Yeah.
I like how. Now, did you know when you came back that this was going to happen?
No, I didn't know.
If you're joining us, this is Culturized. We're talking about culture in not politics, in the government, right? As there's politics, we got to do Makanani Sala right here on Culturized.
Culturized, brought to you by Beachside Roofing, the leaders. Poncho Solar is specialized in providing energy solutions throughout Hawaii since 1987. Call us at 808-773-7384.
Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome to Culturized. My name is Makanani. This is a space where we get to share, talk, and learn culture. And speaking of culture, we're sitting with Makanani Sala. I'm going to destroy it again, but you're just the director of the Mayor's Office of Culture and Arts.
There you go.
Mean. I got him. Now, did you know that was going to come up when you came home, or you just came home and you're just like, I'm coming home, and whatever happens, happens?
I came home in the summer. I had to read, 250 books and take my exam. So that's really all I was doing, right? Is studying these 5 lists of books, which ends up being about 250 books. So when I was done, I was like, I'm not doing anything.
Right.
And then, Mayor got elected, and then I thought, I don't know, something resonated with me the way he was, talking about change and just hiring people, that they want to do good. So that's what made me throw my name in the hat, the proverbial hat.
So what is involved? So you got the title.
Yep.
You obviously have the ike and the mana'o for it. And so how you talked about, when you were doing special ed, they would call you, you're the token, right? Hawaiian. Can you do this? Can you do that? Is it different in the mayor's office when it comes to culture? Because Hawaii is the host culture, and that's what we have to recognize. Do they see it a lot deeper? Do they see it as you see it?
I think, everything is thrown off because of COVID, right? So a lot of the Hawaiian or cultural work that we would do, it comes through events or supporting community events, which are, done right now. So in my office, what I've been doing is just trying to get everyone in the city or every department on board to put diacriticals into all of our stuff. So I do monthly lessons with, city workers, Department of Permitting and Planning,
brilliant.
The people that make the signs to show them how to and they are so into it.
Okay. So we're going to continue this, but
No.
I just thought of something.
What sign would you like changed?
No, somebody went little bit excited on the Okinas. What street is it? I have to show it to you.
Yes, please.
I took a picture of it and I was like,
What is it? Do you not remember what street it was?
man, I'm gonna figure it
Okay.
out, and hopefully I'll find the picture and we'll post it right on here as we're talking. It was like an Okina in between 2 consonants.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that a Native American word? I don't know. So that's part of your responsibility.
No, that's not part. I made it part of my responsibility.
I like that.
You know,
Whose was it first?
I mean, I
They
don't
just
think
kinda
there is
did
a
it?
responsibility. I mean, they
Wow.
look, so I understand because they didn't have the expertise. Nobody had the expertise, right? You're not hiring somebody
Right.
that can do Hawaiian language. So it was just easier or better for them to use no diacriticals. And so it went back to, well, you know, in the newspapers, there's no diacriticals, but we have a modern orthography. And so it worked when you were a native speaker and you didn't need the diacriticals. You got it from context. But when you can't know context, you need the diacriticals to help you. Sorry.
How's the PhD
I
talking?
know, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that is good because I would use that. I would use because my kupuna never used it. But like you just said, because
spoke Hawaiian.
That's what I mean. That you would just know. So mayor's office is actually lucky. Because they have someone like you. Not only you're there just because it's culture and arts, but you have this ike of if you see a street sign, now they can be like, hey, let's call Makanani's office and let's look at that. What other things is your kuleana? What are you responsible for when it comes to culture and art? Is it just Native Hawaiian culture?
No, I think it's all cultures, right? And so a lot of it is the way that most big cities have an office of culture and the arts, and it's responsible for sort of like social culture, right? And mostly related to art. So one of our big projects is we take care of the city's art collection, which is, you know, huge, maintenance of all of the monuments and the statues. We've recently taken on the Sister City program, so we partner with all international cities to do exchanges.
I'm trying to think of it. So that would be like all the Kalakaua statues.
Yeah,
The
Kalakaua,
Kuhio statues.
Kuhio. We have Kapi'olani at Kapi'olani Park.
And how about like is it that Shinto kind by UH, you know, right across from Down to Earth? Would it be things like that as well?
Things that are owned by the city, but some of those are private or owned by the state. So we're sort of the city version of the State Foundation on Culture and the Arts.
If you ever wondered who's kuleana, who's responsible for culture within the city and county of Honolulu specifically, we're sitting with her right now. If you're joining us on YouTube, we got the extended version because I want to talk to you a little bit more about culture and what you do with the city and county. Hit the notification bell, subscribe. You got any questions about culture and the arts within the mayor's office? And that would be Rick, that guy. This is Culture Eyes. Thanks for joining us. Hey, what's up? How's it? Aloha. Welcome to Culture Eyes. My name is Makanani. This is the space where we get to share, talk, and learn culture. Not just Native Hawaiian culture, but all cultures that make up Hawaii. If you've ever wanted to learn about it and think about it, I always have this thing in my head that if we just learn a little bit about everybody's culture, we're gonna be a lot better, and we can all go to longs or get along. Right? Because think about when you go to longs.
Yeah.
The people you meet. Talk story with. Just
That's
random.
a book, isn't it? The people you meet at
I
Longs?
think so. I think somebody wrote it. Anyway, culture and art in the city and county, Honolulu specifically. How many? Okay, let me get to this first before I forget. I know you're not in charge of it, or maybe you are. That the water at the state capitol.
Oh, yeah.
What? Can they?
That's a state thing.
I know it's a state thing, but I know you have some ties. Can you just turn that into a lo'i or something? Can you just tell them, or cannot?
I mean, that's a great idea,
right?
But
you would think. I don't know. I know it's not your jurisdiction.
It might be considered an art piece, in which case you can't change anything
that's
about
what
it.
they said. They said it was
Part of the architectural design because it's a volcano.
Because it's a volcano,
water,
right? And it's anyway. I just thought of that now. But as we talk about culture and arts, please, because I know you know some people. How many art pieces do the city and county? Do they own it, or they just Wow,
we own it. Oh my gosh, Marion's gonna kill me. I don't know this off the top. I want to say it's like 1,100 pieces of art. So it's everything that is in every city building. We own that, right?
Wow.
So the paintings, we just did a brand new glass and metal sculpture on the outside of Hau'ula Fire Station. All of that is part of the city's art collection. The iwi that are at by the zoo, Kapi'olani Park, those are part of our collection. Kapai Mahu is part of our collection.
No way.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
And now that's part of your kuleana. You have to maintain those. Yes. You have to make sure. My mind is blown right now. What is one of the I wouldn't, not the word unusual. What is one art piece that you're just like, whoa?
I mean, I think you hit it. I mean, when I first found out that Kapaimahu and the iwi that are there are part of our collection, I was like, oh my God, we shouldn't be, because we specialize in art, right? But I think there wasn't a place or an office that could take on these cultural things, so we have it. Luckily, there are community organizations who do all of that, as I think they should, right? People from that place whose job is to maintain iwi, because I'm not going to have one of our contractors be like, oh yeah, go clean the rocks that the bones are. No, inappropriate.
You just start using some chemical and stuff and start cleaning it. Are there things that you do that as far as culture and arts department goes that are there times that you feature? Say, okay, we have Kuhio Parade, right? We have Kamehameha. Are there times that you feature or share with the community, even the visitor? Because in Waikiki, I don't think a lot of people realize the cultural sites in the Wahipana that are, Helimoa, yeah. But like that, those statues, there are things that you guys do to feature those.
It's hard to say. So there are lei drapings, right? But that's, say, for example, Prince Kuhio's birthday, the Hawaiian Civic Clubs come together. But in terms of celebrating them with like events, not as much. There's not very many. And
my next question is, was there? Like, so say the iwi that's there, the one by the zoo, and then Kapaimahu. Were there things that they did that you know of in the old days that they would pay respect? What's the word I'm looking for? Where's their protocol to these things?
Oh, I would guarantee you there was. Yeah. But I think also with things like iwi and, sort of sacred stones, they are very specific kuleana for specific people, and only they do them. And it's not for them to sort of ho'olaha. Oh yeah, by the way, this is what we do to take care of these, right? It's a well-kept secret.
Because I've run into that. I've run into some people that automatically claim that this is my kuleana. I have to malama this. I'm like, okay, right? I was given kuleana during the Kuhio parade to malama the Kuhio statue, and I remember one day I was there, and I was it was right. Remember, I don't know if you're back yet, but somebody spray painted.
Yes.
And I was just like, what is going on? So I was cleaning it, and some people came over, and I hate to say it's other local people. It's like, oh, what you doing over here? Yeah. I'm like, well, I was given kuleana by the Kuhio Civic Club, and they were just like, no, that's ours. And I was like, ooh, okay. So I understand that, but it's how would somebody go about doing that if they said, oh, would they call you and be like, oh, I want to go malama this? Is there records of whose responsibility that is? I know it's city county.
There are records, but the only people that we I mean, it belongs to the public. Right. But like the stones and Kapaimahu and the iwi are, they're very just cultural pieces. But the Duke statue, Kuhio statue, Kalakaua, those are brass, very, very expensive things that need specialized care. So we do all the maintenance, but yeah, we contract all the maintenance out.
Is it whose statue they just had to paint? Kapiolani Bandstand.
We just did a post on Kapiolani Bandstand.
So you that's your kuleana too.
Yes.
Wow. Besides art pieces, what other things are you responsible for culturally? Or even non-Hawaiian things. Yeah. What are you responsible for?
Oh gosh, Sister City is our biggest other project right now, and so what we're trying to do is get a handle on the city's sort of 37 sister city relationships, and their economic development, educational development, tourism development. We handle all of the international correspondence. So
you can actually you have a hand in the visitor industry in some sort of way. Yeah. I would always say this. I would always say, how come we need to do more culturally based marketing on airplanes, on hotels, on the street. Who do we see for that? You?
No, but the marketing plan comes from Hawaii Tourism Authority, right? So they just came out with a destination management action plan. They call it DMAP. So every county has their own, right? So right now, that's what we're working through. So we are working with the Oʻahu Visitors Bureau too.
What kind of things are they looking at? See, I always had this theory that this pandemic happened. I thought it was a perfect opportunity for Hawaii not to remarket itself, but revisit 150 years ago of why people came here. Now this is our chance to show the Hawaiian culture. Because sometimes thousands of people come to Hawaii, They come and they visit and they stay and they leave having no idea there's a culture, there's a language. They have no idea. So there's a movement for that. Is it fair to say there's a movement to?
For sure. I mean, it's a concerted effort and a plan for what they're calling regenerative tourism.
Oh, that's what
right. Regenerative tourism. So getting, not even just Native Hawaiian groups, but groups that malama aina to start offering things to tourists and starting to. We can't really regulate, right? We can't regulate how many people come in on a plane. Yeah. But the things that we can control, how do we sort of move the needle towards having visitors come who are responsible and who take care of the place the way that we want them to, right? We teach you how to be when you come to our house.
I like it. Yeah. And that is how we talk culture because a lot of people, I hate to say it, but local people, we have a good namu in the garage, right? And it's like, how come they don't do this? How come they don't do that? You know what I mean? But we have a chance because it's the city and county, but we have a voice and we can see you and we can do culture and arts. Is there, when it comes to halal, here's another thing I thought of. I'm totally throwing things at you. I always thought they should make a law or something that says if a halal, hula halal, or any kind of halal has a space that they're leasing or renting, that you just cannot let them go. Right? Because think about all not only the pandemic, but a lot of times, lease, you got to pay, it goes high, because a lot of people think, oh, you're halal, you must be making profit, right? Is there, or could they do something like that? Protecting, I don't know what, I'm just throwing things out there, protecting Hawaiian culture in that sense.
I mean, so now I'm shooting from the hip now.
Yeah.
That's all, to get the disclaimer, I'm shooting from the hip. But I mean, we can't really, the government, as they shouldn't be regulating a certain amount of things. Right. So private property,
I know,
we can't really regulate. But on city property, I think you've hit a really important point, which is, it's very easy for sports groups to go and rent out spaces in the park, and it's sort of, they know what to do. I think the process is a little bit, it's not as well known. So part of our job is to educate people, to let them know, look, this is how you access and this is how you get,
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So if you're a cultural practitioner, I know, call her. If you're a cultural practitioner and there's ways, if you need a vahi, if you need a pa to practice whatever you're practicing, there's a way to do that. I want to say mahalo for being here. Last minute. There's so much more we want to talk about. If you're joining us on YouTube, hit the notification bell, subscribe to us. Executive Director.
It's long.
Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Culture and Arts.
We call it MOCA for short.
MOCA?
Yeah, MOCA. Not to be confused with this MOCA.
And how long do you stay in that position? Do you stay until Mayor's POW?
Considered an appointee, so you serve at the pleasure of the mayor.
You serve at the pleasure of
I mean,
technically,
right?
It just sounds weird. Anyway, so that is it. Culture, and if you didn't know, yes, our city and county, even at the state level, there are cultural departments. So if you have any questions, how, what, where, and why, you get in touch with her. Mahalo for being here. This is Culturized. Don't forget, notification button, subscribe. I got to thank Sundot for the papale, and of course, all of you for joining us. This is Culturized.